Have you ever stopped and noticed that whenever you glance in the direction of a specific woman, you almost make eye contact before she looks away? Well, this is one of the most noticeable and prominent signs of attraction, and while she might not already be attracted to you, she's checking you out. The issue, however, is that most women don't stare at men anymore, and they might just quickly notice him before going on with their day. The reason for this is simply because she now has social media and access to numerous similar options. Fortunately, there's something extremely enticing about seeing someone you find attractive in person. This not only applies to men, but women also have to deal with the fact that they could be attracted to a man. Once this happens, we tend to give off subtle signs, and today we'll explore exactly which signs these are. The passive-aggressive nature of attraction. Before we dive into some of these crucial signs, we should also understand that attraction has become a very passive thing. Instead of people diving into these relationships or walking up to someone and telling them how they feel, it's all boiled down to a variation of passive-aggressive behavior. And yes, many men also fall into this trap. What you need to understand about women is that the biggest fear they have is rejection. And if it could spill over into public rejection, she's more likely to avoid everything altogether. You see, women have access to the world with social media nowadays, which means they can reach out to any man and strike up a conversation. Why should she risk getting rejected in public? But even with all this, she's still unlikely to make the first move or to directly tell you that she likes you regardless of the situation. This is why she will inadvertently put a couple signs out there that should allow her to gauge you and figure out if you feel the same. Keep in mind that if she knows you, things should be a little easier. And if she doesn't know you, she'll be even more passive when it comes to these various signs. For the purpose of this video, we're going to assume that you've never really got to know this girl and you're on the precipice of just engaging and getting to know one another. This automatically means that her actions towards you will be on the more passive side, and she'll give you hints rather than signs that she likes you. We would recommend that you watch the video till the end so you can carefully understand some of these signs a little better, which should make it easier for you to consciously observe them and tailor your own behavior to make yourself that much more comfortable for her to approach. Number 1. Eye contact. One thing about checking someone out is you can't help the fact that the two of you are bound to make some eye contact, quite frequently. If you haven't met her yet and you also find her attractive, the chances of you two occasionally glancing at one another would be quite high. What you'll find is that you'll occasionally look in her direction and your eyes will meet. Once this happens, it's completely natural for one or the other person to either look down at the floor or to look in a different direction. However, you'll have to keep in mind that the person looking away first is often the one who submits first. Ideally, you want her to be the one who's submitting first, as this will give you the masculine dominance and leadership that women often respect. Once you notice this happening quite often over a couple minutes, you can actually approach her, and by approaching her, you'll also create some tension. This is where you'll need to watch one of our other videos on what you should do when this happens and understand how to go about getting her to like you. But for this video, we'll be exploring the signs and not how to go about turning them into success. We should also add that if she doesn't make eye contact with you so often, it doesn't mean she doesn't like you. You see, part of checking you out also means that she's actually looking at your body or perhaps even one of the assets she finds more attractive. You also want to keep this in mind, as avoiding eye contact can often avoid some of these tense situations. Number 2. Facial expressions. The next important thing is to actually break the barrier of non-communication and to start talking to her in order for her to actually notice that you're interested. Once again, various elements are highly important to consider here, and it's also highly important that you also understand some of these things. First, eye contact upon interaction is something that is bound to happen. However, a woman who likes you will naturally submit and break eye contact, even if it is just for a single solitary second. This is the way she relieves all the tension that's been building up. But to take this one step further, you'll notice some of her facial expressions, and these tend to be on the positive side instead of her natural expressions. You might notice that she's smiling more frequently, and she'll even be willing to laugh at some of your jokes. This is assuming you've watched some of our videos on how women can be won over with humor. Facial expressions, not to be confused with micro expressions, can tell you a lot about how someone's feeling and if they have any attraction to someone. She should be in a somewhat positive mood, and her instinct will be to smile. If we take this one step further, you'll also notice that when you communicate with her about something, like perhaps even telling a joke, she'll find it hilarious, even if those around her don't. However, if you say something funny and she waits for the reaction of others before following yours, she does not like you as much as you think. As you can see, one of the most important things to establish is dominance, which means on a subconscious level, you should be leading her and she should be comfortable with you leading her. Number 3, infiltrates your space. By now, you've probably spoken a word or two with each other, and this should immediately give her some sort of an idea of who you are and how you might be feeling about her. If you understand communication, you have also possibly started flirting with her, which should automatically reduce the stiffness as well. However, the next thing you're bound to notice is how often she tries to infiltrate your personal space. She'll be more likely to be close to you or even touch you. This is a clear sign that she's quite comfortable being around you, and she wants to spend as much time as possible being around you. For example, you'll notice that when you sit at a table, she'll want to sit as close to you as possible. In fact, she would even sit on top of you if she had the comfort. This is a sign that she trusts you, and you're also the person in the room that she likes the most. Women will always want to be as close to the person they love as humanly possible. The great thing about this is that it might even lead to breaking the touch barrier. You see, two people that don't know each other will be quite uncomfortable touching each other, with both fearing the subconscious barrier of not seeming too desperate. However, the closer to you she is, the more naturally the two of you are to touch each other, and this is precisely what you're looking for. You see, the moment the touch has been established, you can create even more comfort with your touches. We made a video on exactly what you should do to touch her. Number 4, similar likes and dislikes. Another subtle sign that a woman likes you is when she's naturally trying to establish rapport between the two of you. This means that when in conversation, she's more likely to choose your side and opinion on various matters. In fact, a woman who likes you will automatically share all of these likes and dislikes you might have. This is perhaps one of the best signs that she likes you, as if she agrees with you on everything. She's probably changing her own personal biases and opinions to fall more in line with yours. Women naturally tend to become such chameleons, who can comfortably do this, since they tend to be naturally more agreeable than men. It can be quite a situation when you notice her liking and agreeing with many things you say, but there could also be some disagreements, and women will naturally sprinkle this in between as they try to establish some good-natured tension between the two of you. You see, she might disagree with you on certain matters, simply to test you and see what your reaction is. What she's hoping for is a friendly and somewhat joking response that can challenge her opinion and create some tension to establish attraction. You see, two similar people tend to have a very boring relationship, but when occasional disagreements arise, it's that much better. So, she'll most likely agree with you on important matters, but when it comes to some of the more trivial things, there's a major chance that she'll disagree with you in order to create some level of tension between the two of you. Number 5, constantly adjusts herself or fiddles. Another quite important universal sign stems back from the importance of noticing body language. You see, body language by itself is very complicated, yet an extremely fascinating thing that reveals a lot about someone they're not willing to say. If a woman likes you, she's bound to adjust herself quite frequently. And this could be small things like always trying to make sure her hair is perfect around you, or even just adjusting her jewelry. The reason for this is simple, and it's because when we like someone, we naturally become more self-conscious about ourselves. Another element of body language to keep in mind is that she'll fiddle with her hands as well. This restless behavior is actually a way of relieving some of the inner tension that she might be facing inside such a situation. You'll notice that she can flip-flop from being happy and excited to feeling somewhat anxious and even nervous when there's a clear spark between the two of you. What you want to do is to allow her to make all these fiddling moves and have natural body language responses. This will show you what you need to do next. If she's somewhat nervous, you should jokingly try to calm her down by shifting the interaction into something extremely powerful and positive. This will allow you to ultimately come out on top, and she'll be the one liking you even more for your consistent body language. Yes, this does mean you should not allow yourself to become controlled by your conscious mind. As a man, you need to make sure that you're following your critical thinking process and focusing on naturally controlling everything you do. You must establish this to make yourself seem more masculine as well. But if you want to learn more about this, you should check out our videos on Stoicism. Number 6. Her friends notice you. Let's face it, the chances of you meeting a woman out alone, especially at a bar, are quite slim. In fact, women love to be protected and they'll naturally want to be with their friends as much as possible, which makes them feel safe. So, chances are that she'll likely have a couple friends there and you occasionally notice them staring at you as well. Now, this can be due to a number of reasons. Perhaps everyone finds you attractive, or she's made her friends aware of the fact that she likes you, and now everyone's checking you out. But regardless of the reason for this, the fact that they are all looking at you means simply that she does actually like you and she has some attraction toward you as well. You'll probably only find out the exact reason the moment you make contact with them to see what they think. Ideally, you want to have a couple friends of your own, and it only looks that much better when a guy has friends and approaches a group of girls. It'll make everyone feel more comfortable, and now everyone will have someone to talk to. To understand the behavior behind this principle, we can look at what happens when a man spots an attractive girl with his friends. The chances are that each of them will take turns staring at her to figure out what it is their friend likes about her. Now, this is precisely the same thing that often happens to women, and they are biologically programmed with curiosity to look at what they like. Number 7. She actually approaches you. Lastly, we have to consider the fact that women nowadays are also willing to approach men if they like them. In fact, women have improved so much in confidence, and thanks to incredibly powerful female figures like Taylor Swift and Michelle Obama, women are naturally becoming more and more confident and willing to make moves. What you'll notice is that instead of waiting for you to see her subtle signs and approach you, she might be more willing to be the one to make the first move. By making the first move, she will immediately know if you're interested or not. But many men also fear that a woman makes the first move due to being quite scared of how to react. However, if a woman actually approaches you, you should not fear this and think that she's more confident than you. You can simply roll with the punches, and this would make it a lot easier for you to get her. Given the fact that women are more passive-aggressive than men, it's natural to find that she'll much rather give you signs rather than step up to the plate. But you also need to know how to approach a woman if you happen to like her back. So make sure you check out this next video to see what you can do.